Welcome to Respiratory HQ's Journey to Success podcast, the podcast specifically for RT students because you all are the future of the respiratory therapy profession, and not everything you need for success can be found in your textbooks. I'm Tanya Peel. I'm so excited to be here to give you a little guidance and insight, a few tips, maybe a few tricks to help you be successful on your journey through respiratory therapy school. Let's get started. As I'm recording today's episode, it is mid-October. So if you're an RT student, I have a question for you. Are you tired? If you're a first-year student, you're probably into at least the 8th or 10th week of school, and the intensity and the excitement of starting school has probably worn off just a little bit, and you're working on figuring out consistency and what that means and how to shuffle your schedule to make sure you get everything studied for to pull the grades that you want to pull. If you're a second-year student like mine, you have been in the program over 12 months now, and you probably lack about a semester and a half before you're done, and you're tired, okay? You've been maintaining this level of consistency for well over a year, and it becomes sometimes a little bit of a burden and most definitely a challenge. So what I want to talk to you about today is a few ways to reset and refocus your goal of becoming an RRT. Okay, just a little bit of a journaling experience. I almost hate to say journaling because I'm not one that likes to open up and write a lot, but I'm going to have us do a couple of exercises today so that you can truly see that you have made a lot of progress, and hopefully in doing this, it'll reset you, maybe refocus your goal so that you can push through and finish strong. I don't know how many of you tuned into last week's episode where our guest speaker talked about her why, and she had an amazing story about being a first-generation college student and wanting to make her parents proud because her parents had invested in her education. And as she was telling the story, you could hear the truth just resonating in her voice, and you could feel how important that why was to her. So I think that that's what we are going to do now. We are all going to sit down and we are going to think about our why. What I'd like you to do is pull out a sheet of paper. Now what we're going to do here is remember your why. Okay? So I want you to set a timer for 5 minutes. Take your piece of paper and write down your why. It was one of those things that we said was so important to establish right at the beginning of RT school. All right, so write it down and sit with it a few minutes. Analyze that. Is your why still true? Do you still believe it? Is it still worthy of completing? Has it changed? Okay, if it has changed, how has it changed? Okay, is it still worthy of completion? So sit with that for 5 minutes and refocus in on your why. Remember how it felt when it was so important to you, when you established it. Remember that feeling and see if you can tap into that again and find a little bit of strength to carry you through to Christmas break. So now that you've gone back and revisited your why, and if you find that it's still true, it's still something that you believe, it's still worthy of completing RT school, that why is still very important to you, you may still believe it, but you may feel like you're a little stuck in that goal, because here right in the consistency of thing, the grind that is respiratory school, what we find ourselves doing is getting up in the morning, getting our morning routine done, whether it's working out or getting the kids ready and off to school. And then you go to school, you spend all day at school studying, testing, performing skills, doing competencies, going to clinicals, figuring out time to study. Then you go home, you do your evening routine, you get the kids down, maybe you get a couple of hours of studying. And then you go to bed and you get up and you do the same thing over again. day after day after day, you seem to be stuck in the same routine. And that feels sometimes that you're not making any progression towards completion of that goal, completion of RT school. So don't think that you're stuck. It's just everything is moving at a pace slower than what you would like for it to be, right? You would love for the end of the semester to be here. You would love that or that last semester of the program to be done sooner. So you can't move time any faster. But what you can do is the second journaling experience. So this is what I want you to pause this right now and do this, or maybe come back later and sit down and do this. But I want you to take a couple of sheets of paper and I want you to set your timer for 10 minutes. And I want you to step back to before even respiratory school. Once you determine that you are going to apply to RT school, I want you to list everything that you have done, everything that you can think about that you have done to get you further to your goal of becoming an RRT. Okay, so once you determined you were going to RT school and you decided what you needed to do, you took those prerequisite classes and then you applied to school, and maybe that application process included an interview, and then you got accepted and you had all the paperwork to complete, all the immunizations, the books, the schedule. I want you to write every single thing down that you can think about that you have done, the work that you have put into this. And I want you to take 10 minutes. Don't worry about it being neat and tidy and nice handwriting. Don't worry how it looks. Write in the margin, scribble on the side, write every single thing down that you can think about. And at the end of 10 minutes, I want you to sit there and I want you to sit with that and look at how much you have accomplished in the time since you've started RT school. And I want you to give yourself a little credit. Honor yourself with this. Look at that list. And I want you to be able to say, you know what? I've shown up. I've done this. I've been trying. I've put in the work, and see how much you have done. You have done a tremendous amount of work in the time since you started RT school. And while I know right now it may not seem like time is moving fast enough and it may seem like you're stuck, do you see that list sitting in front of you? Look how much you have accomplished. Be proud of that. Give yourself some credit. Give yourself some grace and honor your accomplishments. Okay, and know that while you still have work left to do, if you're a second year student, you've come through more than what you have to go yet to get done with that goal. You are almost finished. So dig deep and finish strong. Another thing I want you to consider as we're talking about resetting and refocusing our goal is to think about your relationships again. So several motivational speakers have used this concept. It's a statement that says you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, meaning that our lives are very heavily influenced by our closest relationships. And we know that, right? We know that the people we hang out with, the people that we spend time with, those people affect the way we think. They affect our self-esteem. They affect our decision-making process. So we know that. We know that our environment impacts our behavior and success. But as we move along through everyday life, doing the routines that we do, getting up, going to school, studying, doing competencies, going to clinicals, as you do that day after day after day, you forget that the people around you actually influence your decision-making process. And sometimes the people you hang around with, if they are negative type of people or people that don't fill you with positive influence, that company you choose to keep, that kind of compounds itself, which can keep you from achieving your goal. So what I want you to do is take a look at your circle. Take a look at, maybe it's not your 5 closest relationships, but look at the people you're spending time with. You definitely need cheerleaders. Everybody needs somebody that supports them and can motivate them and makes them feel good and feels like they want to keep pushing. And those are probably some of your classmates, to tell you the truth. But not only do you need cheerleaders, you need critics also. You need to have that one friend that's a devil's advocate, the one friend that's honest with you to a fault, that can challenge you to look twice about your methods or make you look for different solutions, to just make you think. Because if you have a critic and can look at how you're doing things and changes that you need to make, that's where growth occurs. So look at your relationships, have cheerleaders, and have your critics also. Also, you can be very critical about the amount of time you spend with certain people. We talked about it several episodes ago about how people that you spend time with are either batteries or black holes. So if you have those people that are just energy draining, just remember, you get to control how much time you spend with those people for the most part. And if you really can't control the amount of time you're spending with those people, you can find other ways to tap into people that are positive influences or media that is more of a positive influence to counteract some of the negativity. So try to be careful about who you're spending your time with and make sure it's a positive influence. Because you can't really expect to surround yourself with negative people and have a positive life. It just doesn't work like that. And then the last thing I want you to consider when you're thinking about relationships, if we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most amount of time with, that means we're somebody else's 5. We're one of somebody else's 5. So we really need to think about how we influence others. And we need to make sure that we are a positive influence, supporters, maybe some critics at times, that we are all making sure that we are pushing forward through RT school in that positive manner, that you're influencing each other to achieve success in the completion of school and gaining the RRT credential. All right, the last thing I want to talk about, if you're feeling it a little stuck, if you feel like time isn't moving forward fast enough, I want you to analyze where you are at right now. Because a lot of times, as a first-year student, when you get into RT school, it is harder than really what you've anticipated. Or transitioning into your second year, we as instructors expect you now to have all that fundamental knowledge and to analyze it, to be able to apply it, to be able to critically think with it. And sometimes you stumble with that the first couple of tests, and that's okay. So what I want to ask you is, have you experienced a temporary setback? Have you reached a point that maybe you're not doing as well as what you would like to in a certain course or on tests? All right, and if the answer is yes, here's what I'm cautioning you about. Don't let that temporary setback become a permanent experience. As long as it's mathematically possible to pass a course, you still have a chance. Get up and start over. So what? You failed an exam. You've got a next unit of lessons. It's a clean slate where the new information is concerned. Get up, get to studying, and pull up that grade. All right? It's so easy to let that temporary setback wreak havoc with your mindset, that you get down on yourself and you start talking badly to yourself about how you're not enough. Don't do that. Okay? Don't do that. Get up and move forward. This is also why it's important to have those cheerleaders in your corner. So if you're one of somebody's 5 and you're a cheerleader for that person that's having a temporary setback, right now reach out and help them. Okay? So last thing, don't let that temporary setback become a permanent experience. All right, everybody, that is it for this week. I really hope you join me next week because we're going to have another guest speaker come in and it's going to talk to us a little bit about the importance of self-care, the importance of filling your own cup so that you can be a support for others. So it's been great being with you today. Go out this next week, do a great job, study hard, and I'll see you next week.